well today. I hope everybody doing well this afternoon into this evening. I want to thank the Most High for blessing me with y'all support. We have 700 supporters now. Again, to all the new people who have joined the channel, I don't say subscribers. I don't do the subscriber thing. I go straight out with support. We support one another by um, representing the light and truth first and foremost, and saying those hard things that aren't so easy to swallow, metaphorically. And we do the study, we do the background work, we do the due diligence in order to stand strong in this day, in order to push that hard line. We know that wickedness, evil, we know that the forces of wickedness and evil don't take a day off, like Brother Bob Marley used to say, the wicked and evil don't take a day off, so why should I? And that's something that the more mature I get in my life, the farther along I'm blessed to be, the more I see the value in that statement. And we at the point now where if you ain't chose your side yet, well, you still got a little bit of grace, but not choosing the side is choosing the side at this point. Not choosing a side is choosing a side. Okay. And so what I want to talk about in this live real quick, and I do my best to be as brief as possible. But what I want to talk about was these purge laws that's going on in Illinois. People is calling them the purge laws, and they're really called non-detainment laws, or the non-detainment act. Uh, it's been in the works for a few years, and it finally passed through the state legislation. And what they plan on doing is rolling this whole new set of so-called laws or non-detainment law out beginning January 1st, 2023. Now, you have individuals who are calling these laws the purge laws because they're very um, in line with that movie, The Purge, where for a day, and I forget the movie all the way, the different scenes and stuff, but I do know the main synopsis of the film was for a day, a city or a state or a land or whatever, I think it was the whole nation, can have lawlessness. Okay? Lawlessness, meaning no one will get charged for the crimes they commit. Crimes can be committed freely, and for that 24-hour period, whatever anybody could think of to do, that's what they could do and get away with it. And Chicago and Illinois itself, Chicago is synonymous with Illinois. When people think Illinois or Illinois, however you want to say it, people automatically go to thinking about Chicago. And so when we look at the crime, the daily crime levels in Chicago, it would be very interesting to me why Chicago would be used as the motivation to introduce such a law when the rest of the state, there are different pockets in the state that have issues as well. But for the most part, if we're just going to associate Chicago with the state, Chicago is only one city out of that big state. And so, is it really fair to include the rest of the state in the law? The officials of Chicago are having a difficult time containing and controlling? Well, in my opinion, no. These non-detainment laws, or the non-detainment act that they've introduced and that they plan on rolling out January 1st, 2023, is very troublesome. I don't like to do the fear mongering. I don't like to speak in a way where it ruffles up fear feathers. I'm not about that life. I'm not about that. I'm more so involved with presenting information as it's come across my desk that resonates with me in this walk, this journey that I'm on right now, and what that means for all of those who depend on channels like this to bring truth and solutions. Okay? Now, this non-detainment law is troubling, and the reason that they call it the purge laws is because of the types of criminal acts that will be excused if one were to commit the crime. So, what are we talking about here? Well, the state of Illinois has basically made aggravated battery, aggravated DUI, aggravated fleeing, arson, burglary, drug induced homicide, intimidation, kidnapping, robbery, second degree murder, threatening a public official, all essentially legal to commit without the fear of being placed into prison or to be placed into jail or a holding cell until a court date. Now, you have law officials. What in the world? Is that a cow? My bad, y'all. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. It's hard to tell what that is from right here, but it's definitely out on the road. I'm on my road right now. Is that a cow or is that a big old hog? I should drive down on it, because whatever it is, it ain't supposed to be out. My bad, y'all. I just, I'm out here looking. I gotta keep my head on the swivel too. Even when you in the country, you got to stay aware. You got to stay woke. You got to stay up. But I don't know what that thing is, and it looked like it might be a big hog because all the cattle is put up. But I'm gonna look to see if it go onto the road while I'm talking. So excuse me about that. I kid y'all not. But so once again, you have aggravated battery, aggravated DUI, aggravated fleeing, arson, burglary, drug induced homicide, intimidation, kidnapping, robbery, second degree murder, threatening a public official, all crimes now where individuals won't be detained. Now, what does this mean? You have law people, attorneys who are trying to clear up any so-called misconceptions about this act, right? And I don't think it's a misconception at all. I think everybody's hitting a square on the head. So you mean to tell me if somebody commits a second degree murder that they won't be held in jail? Yeah, see what the law people are trying to say is that racially the bonding process to be able to do bail bonds, the actual bonding process has always been racially targeted, right? And that's BS, y'all. That ain't real. Listen, anytime anybody committed a crime, if they had the money to bail out, then they could bail out regardless of the crime. Okay? In any other state, for the most part, if a person commits a crime, they can bail out. Now you have individuals who are, law attorneys for like public defenders and people like that, or uh racially motivated attorneys who deal with class action lawsuits or that sort of thing, right? Who would always say, well, these laws are targeting people of color, and most people of color, if they get arrested, they can't afford to bail out anyway. Meanwhile, the rich get to bail out when they commit the most heinous crimes, and they get to sit at home until their trial is taking place, and this and that. And I'm like this: we live in a capitalist society. So if a person was committing a crime, regardless of complexion, regardless of ethnicity, originally in Illinois, before this law was passed, they would be able to bail themselves out. Mama could put the house up. If that's what she need to do, the cars could get to the pawn shop, get them pink slips popping. Whatever you need to do to bail out before this law took place, that's what you could do. Now we got a very interesting situation where they say it's not racially motivated, but here's the catch. Or they say passing these laws, are racially motivated in order to make an equal playing ground. But all this is BS. All right, why is it BS, bruh, True Jew? All right, here we go. It's BS because now the jailing system, not the judge, is allowed to discriminatorily choose who they want to keep detained and who they want to let go. And once they make decision to keep that individual detained who committed any crime, that person who they detain could be innocent. And before, if a person knew they were innocent, they could bail out if they could afford it. Now, if a person is truly innocent and the jailers want to decide to detain that person without letting them go, then now that person could be detained and still not be able to pay bail, forward bail, to get out of prison. So this is still racially motivated because if the jailer doesn't like a certain ethnicity, the jailer themselves can keep that person, and now the jails are still going to be packed with the unbalanced inmate number, because the jailers are targeting people of color who still, even if that person of color could pay the bail, now the option to pay bail is totally out the window, and it's up to the jailer themselves to decide whether they not whether or not they want to keep that person detained. Now, on the surface of this new law, it appears that everybody who commits these crimes will be let go. Now, when you talk about aggravated battery or aggravated DUI, or you're talking about aggravated fleeing, arson, burglary, drug induced homicide, intimidation, kidnapping. First of all, there's certain crimes on this list that should never be committed. But if they are committed, they definitely should also be worthy of detention. Okay? So a person shouldn't be released if they've been accused of kidnapping and we know that they was caught red-handed kidnapping. A person shouldn't be released if they've literally committed second degree murder. Okay? Second degree murder, that means, hey, we got to go to trial with this one. Burglary. If a person was found to do burglary and they were actually caught in the act, that person should not be released to then go back and be able to do more burglarizing. Okay? So basically, why folks are calling these purge laws is because it gives a sense of anarchy and lawlessness to the state now. If people was already prone to commit crimes before they thought that they would get away, now they know for sure that based on these new non-detainment laws, they can commit a crime, and even if they get caught based off this small list of crimes that are very heavy, a very heavy list, that they can still get off scot-free, or at least still be released back to the public. Now, looking deeper into this, I realized that Barack Obama was used to be the senator of Illinois, right? One of the senators, right? And from that Chicago foundation, Barack Obama entered into the presidency. When I think about how during his presidency, I think that was from 2008 to, let's say, the first term, 2012, we saw a total upsurge of homicides unsolved in Chicago. That's where drill music became popularized during Barack Obama's reign as president. Okay, now this is very troubling. He didn't do anything in Chicago. Meanwhile, you have the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the NOI who are headquartered in Chicago, and they've been doing everything that they can to try to help the cause of our people not going bananas and totally cuckoo. But Barack Obama, he never used his power to effectually get rid of the crime and the lawlessness that was in Chicago before this non-detainment act was introduced. So when I think about what they're actually trying to do from a government perspective, it's obvious to me that they want to create an environment of lawlessness so that that could be the excuse to introduce martial law. Okay? Once martial law is introduced into one state, or this non-detainment law is introduced and actually out and rolling, you're going to have individuals from each state who have high numbers of homicides and crimes committed looking at this and using Chicago and Illinois as the example that these same sorts of laws, no bail laws, need to be passed in their state. I could definitely see California being next. California is next. Okay. If Illinois is doing this, California is next. Okay. And California is a larger state than Illinois, and the prison industrial complex in California is a lot worse. Okay. So when you look at the business of jail, now not being able to bail out is actually going to increase the business of jail. You think these people are really going to let people go? Do you really think they're going to let people go who commit these crimes? Aggravated battery, aggravated DUI, aggravated fleeing, arson, burglary, drug-induced homicide, intimidation, kidnapping, robbery, second degree murder, and threatening a public official? I think on this list, the most people that would get released is the kidnappers, and who else is going to get released? The kidnappers and the burglars are going to get released the most and the quickest. You have the drug-induced homicides and the second degree murders. Depending on who commits those, they will get released quick too. And I hate to say it, but this is definitely going to be working toward the white folks' favor, because when a white boy goes along on a drug-induced homicide and he gets to killing people, talking about he was high out his mind, we have a society right now that totally shunned the crack era, that put so many of our mamas, brothers, cousins, aunties, uncles in jail for smoking crack rock, and let hundreds of thousands of individuals go who was dealing with cocaine, right? The stigma on those drugs was totally different. Oh, cocaine is a gentleman's drug. It's a gentleman's game. Crack is for them ends over there, right? You have so many people targeted in California and across the whole nation when it came to cannabis, right? People of color. Now cannabis is legal in all these states, and people of color are still in prison right now for small cannabis infractions. All right, so I hope y'all see where I'm going with this. But when it's a white boy who committed drug-induced heroin murder, heroin killing, he's gonna be released. He's gonna be released, and the brother who commits the crime, drug-induced, is gonna be housed and kept within the prison. And I hate to say this, but now, hold on, y'all. I hate to say this, but now that we see a no bail prison complex that introduced full control to the prisoners, or to the prison runners, who are now able to decide who they want to let go and how they want to let them go. And so this isn't going to be good all the way around for anybody involved. Like I mentioned earlier, if someone was truly innocent and they had the means to bail out, they would do that. Now they don't have the opportunity to do that. Okay. So it's pretty unfortunate the way that Illinois is going. And like I said, it's going to be a pattern followed by the rest of the states, especially the larger states like New York, California. I don't see Texas. I don't see Texas falling for this one. Okay, I don't see Texas falling for this one, but I think places like Washington, places like, and I'm talking about Washington State. Let's see, places like Arizona. Uh, who else? Places like Florida. They're probably going to follow after these laws, and it's going to be a shame for the society that has to deal with the ramifications of that decision. All right. So I just wanted to bring a little light to this thing as far as how it's been revealed to me. I've looked at a couple different sources, the sources that are trying to push the propaganda that no, 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 this is okay. No, it's not that people can commit any crimes they want and get away. It's just that now when they commit the crimes, the jailers have the opportunity to decide who is released without a bond being presented on behalf of the recently incarcerated if they can afford it. I don't like that. I don't like that. So the perception of being lawless and going into an anarchy state of mind is what the focus is. A criminal, a career criminal, yes, keeping the propaganda going away can guide us for sure. A career criminal is not worried about reading this law, okay? A career criminal isn't thinking, hey, well, if they have this new law, what is the deeper ramifications of it as regards to me? No, a career criminal is just thinking, all right, I get to commit my crime and I'm going to go on and do what I want to do. And then I could possibly get away with it. But once the crime is committed, it's committed. You know, police rarely stop crimes. Okay. police and sheriff are are hired to capture criminals, but they don't stop crime. Okay, rarely does a police officer stop crime as it's beginning to happen. They're on the scene after the crime is committed. Okay, and so you're going to have people who want to commit crimes, who are career criminals, committing these crimes at a high rate, and it's going to be very wild out there. It's going to get wild there in Chicago. All the energy of this nation is going to pick up. We're in the daughter of Babylon. Babylon has fallen, and it is definitely falling. And if you ain't in a place where you can control your own family, where you can um, really be a leader within your own household and not be affected so deeply by state legislation and those types of things that would dictate how you're supposed to move, then I highly suggest that you get on the good foot while you still got this window of grace to do so. um, Chicago, Illinois, it's gonna be rough, y'all. My heart goes out to all of y'all because it is. Like I said, I definitely see these same things happening in California, Florida, Washington State, Arizona, states that have this weird level of crime that oftentimes goes unnoticed, and they want to jump the gun and they want to follow suit. It's gonna be bad for all the individuals that could afford to bail themselves out. They no longer going to be able to do that, especially if they're innocent. So the playing field hasn't been leveled, if you ask me. Leaving a decision like this to release an inmate up to a warden or to a jailer is absolutely ridiculous, and especially pre-trial. And it's just crazy. It's crazy, y'all. So look, this your bro Chuju tapping in with y'all. I wish you all a great Shabbat Shalom. I wish you all a great Shabbat. Please stay strong. Please stay vigilant. Stay blessed always. Most High Mama and Papa willing, I'll be back with another one. But until then, go.